So today is the 8th of September 2024. I wanted to do a little bit of a different video today. So instead of just talking about my day, because not much has been happening really, the same stuff's been happening day by day. Obviously we're progressing, but it's not too interesting for you lot. I thought I'd do a bit of a different video, and mainly a video towards like what's allowed me to progress to the point that I have, and the main mindset shifts that I think are important for anyone really doing what I'm doing that you need to have to succeed. So, bit of a different video. Obviously, usually we're just doing a little update, but yeah, let me give you some insights and some stuff that I've learned. So, I think the main biggest thing, the first thing that I've learned is you've really got to learn to completely detach from the outcome and completely detach from the money. And long story short, what I'm trying to say here is don't chase the money. Now, for those of you that don't get that concept, what happens is that when you chase money, you're focusing on the wrong inputs, because your whole mindset is driven towards making that next bit of income, right? Whereas I made this mistake where I was constantly chasing the money, chasing that 10k month within 3 months of starting, which is never going to happen when I didn't have the skill set. But instead of me instead of me focusing on building my skill set, I was focusing on how I could make the money. Now, really what you should be doing at the start, and no matter where you are in your journey, is constantly focusing on what's going to help you get to that financial figure, not that financial figure, if that makes sense. Because what might happen is that if you're solely focused on the money, you may jump and skip a step that you know you need to do because you want to fast track and get the money quicker, whereas maybe you shouldn't have taken that step and you should have learned something instead. So the first principle I'd say is really forget the money for a moment, forget the outcome, just focus on the skills, focus on what you need to develop to be able to get that money, and as a byproduct you get it. Look at me, for example. Okay, it took me a while. Well, it's not a while, it's a while compared to what they tell you it takes. This is probably a pretty normal time frame, but I stopped focusing on the money. You can probably see one of my videos further back where I talk about it, and that was probably this time last year that that lesson really hit home for me. And a year later, last month I brought in 10k. So that's the first thing, all right? Now, the second lesson that I would say is like really just learn to be patient and learn that it just doesn't happen overnight. I think we all get sold this dream online that you can do it so quickly, and it really does just take time. And it's taken me so long, so many hours this year to get to where I want to get to. And because of that, I've been able to get to this point because I've just stuck to it and been patient and, again, detached from the outcome, which links to the first lesson, and just allowed it to happen in its own time. So I'd really recommend that you just tell yourself it's going to take time and that is fine. And I think when you get comfortable with that concept, I think a lot of it gets a lot easier. Now, linking to that point, another lesson I want to give you here is, if you're doing this business solely for money, you're not going to go as far as you want to go. You need to have a true purpose and a true why towards why you're doing this. And a lot of you won't know what your purpose is. A lot of you are just doing it for money at the start, but you need to truly understand why you're doing it. And the reason you need to understand why you're doing it is because when it gets difficult, when you've been through the headaches and the stress that I've been through to get to this point, money isn't a big enough driver to pull you through. It isn't a big enough driver to take you through to the other side. And you're not going to know why you're doing it. Some of you may know off the top of your head, it might be simple, but for those of you that don't know, here's what I recommend you do. Lock yourself in your bathroom, get rid of your phones, get rid of any screens, and just sit with yourself and think for an hour. And just really think and understand why you're doing it. And if you can't find a reason, doesn't mean you're going to stop, but what it does mean is, trust me, that When things get difficult, when things aren't going how you want them to go, I guarantee you it will be so much harder it'll be so much easier for you to give up than someone who isn't worried about the money. And again, it was sort of this time last year for me when I really got in touch with like my purpose. Why am I doing this? What is the point of me doing this? Why don't I just get a normal job? And I have a humongous list of why I'm doing this, and okay, money is included in it and it will be for absolutely everyone. But your core focus number one can't be money because it will never be enough. And I've seen it firsthand, right? I've seen guys who are just in this for the money, and as soon as it gets difficult, as soon as it starts going the wrong way, it stops. And like again, I think of myself this time last year, right? I was in a pretty bad spot at times in terms of like not didn't have a niche, didn't have any clients, wasn't making any money. Realised I was shit at everything and I needed to build my skill set up. And I remember a few times when I went into my dad's office and my head was just all over the place because I just didn't know what to do. Like I didn't know if I was doing the right thing. I didn't know if I had the right ideas. I was just stuck. Everything I was thinking, I would research it and someone else had done it, and I was just going on and on and on. And just wanting a quick cash grab wouldn't have been enough for me to go through that time. I can't explain how much of a headache that period was, but it's really try to understand for yourself why are you doing this. And I'll give you one of my whys just so you understand. I'll give you a few actually. I won't give you them all, but I'll give you a few. One of them is I realised what type of life I wanted to live, and I realised how short life is. I've lost a lot of people around me, and I didn't want to live a life where I'm controlled and told what to do for 5 days of the week for the rest of my life. I wanted to be where I wanted to be, whenever I wanted to be, doing whatever I wanted to be. And a normal job doesn't do that, and that job I was at definitely didn't do that. So that was the first thing. The other thing was realised, again, life's short. I wanted to do something I enjoyed, something I found fulfilling. I wanted to make something special of my life. I wanted to I just really want to make the most of life, really. So again, that was another motivator. Another motivator for me was, again, I said I had a lot of losses. I lost a lot of my grandparents when I was younger, and a big thing for me was like they never got to see me grow up. They never got to see me become who I am now. So it was all about making them proud and yeah, sort of doing it for them in a sense. And yeah, my last sort of why was my dad came from a very poor background. I remember him telling me stories of like when he had to paint his shoes if he wanted a new pair of shoes, and he came from Greece. He had a good upbringing, don't get me wrong, he just didn't have money. But he's managed to leave that place, build a good life for himself and provide us with an amazing life where we're comfortable and we don't have to worry. And my thinking was that if he can come from there and do this, if I'm in this spot now, I can do 10 times better. And I feel like, in a way, I feel like I owe it to him. So they're my whys, and they're just the top ones. Well, no, they're quite big ones, a lot of them, but there's more. But they're the main ones, I'd say. And yeah, that drives me. Whenever it goes shit, I'm thinking about, why am I doing this? Why do you want to do this? Why are you putting yourself through this? And I know why, and that's more powerful than anything you could possibly imagine. So yeah, I'd say really get in touch with that, and yeah, hopefully those tips help you progress on your entrepreneurship journey.